Good afternoon, dear students, dear guests. It's my pleasure to be here with you and welcome one of the icon of leadership who will have his speech in a couple of minutes. Before inviting him, please let me tell you a few words about organizer of today's events, which is non-profit organization Manageria. For those of you who do not know anything about Manageria, it is an organization who was set up a few years ago by mostly managers who wanted to contribute to society and to shape the world around us. The way how we choose to do so is by educating and engaging young people as you to become leaders in business, leaders in education or in politics. The way how we do it is that we try to inspire you and support you by getting in contact with leaders as the one I will introduce in a couple of minutes. But to understand Manageria, we have a few slides which are running on the screen, and this is our flagship product, which is called Manageria Leadership Program. In this program, where you can apply, you will have a chance to be with leaders not once in a semester on a huge lecture, but the people as you who join this leadership program have opportunity during the weeks several times to, in a very small group of 10 to 15 people, be with leaders like our guest tonight and spend some time getting and acquiring skills, getting advice in career, or trying to find an opportunity to engage in firms through internships or interesting job opportunities. So now I would like to invite our precious guest, which is Peppera de Callier. And while Pepper will take from me a microphone, let me share with you a few thoughts about Pepper. I had a chance to meet Pepper a few years ago, and since then Pepper has supported Manageria many times. But next to his support to you students and Manageria, his professional life has been centered mostly around top managers. Pepper has been a headhunter or a professional search person who was engaged in 3 of the top global companies working around the globe in Asia, America, and Europe, trying to find and coach the best talent in business. Pepper has worked with top managers all around the world, and now he is also spending some time with students in Manageria who have the opportunity to get his advice for their career and their personal development. Recently, Pepper has moved to Prague, where he founded Prague Leadership Institute. And as Prague Leadership is our precious partner in Manageria, let me share with you a few thoughts about this partner. Prague Leadership Institute was created to provide top managers in our countries, in Slovakia and Czech Republic, to have a chance to have a mentor for their business careers, because our generation after November didn't have mentors. Those who have been in business positions after revolution, after '89, didn't have coaches who can tell them how the business works. And so we are so happy that we have Pepper here who can give us advice. And now he's doing it through Prague Leadership Institute, and from time to time he's also helping us in Manageria and working with students. So I am happy to invite Pepper on the floor. And last but not least, if you would be inspired by today's thoughts from Pepper, you have 2 options how to follow up on more ideas and advices from Pepper. First one is to buy a book when you will leave this auditorium, why we have arranged for you the price to be a cost price without profit for the publisher, which is 1/3 lower than in bookstore. So please use this opportunity. The second one is that if you like what Pepper explains to you and you would like to have more advice of Pepper and people like Pepper, if you sign up for our Manageria leadership program, you will have opportunities to meet Pepper and similar business leaders on a weekly basis in much smaller setting. So please also take up this opportunity and write to the email address on the screen anytime since today and April, when we will close the applications. So these are the opportunities to you, and now I leave ground for Pepper.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you. Thank you. Dobry den, Bratislava! Something must be wrong with the audio. Normally when I say that, people yell back at me. So let me see, I'll try to just try. Dobry den, Bratislava! All right, thank you very much. It is a real pleasure for me to be here for a number of reasons. First of all, Manageria. Just a few words about it from my perspective. I have been involved in educating leaders for the better part of 30 years, and in various parts of the world I have seen a number of organizations that do this, that connect with people at the beginning of their careers and give them advice about which careers to take and how to advance in them. But I can't think of anyone that I have encountered, any organization, that I would put on the level of Manageria. And let me tell you why I say that. To me, what Manageria does is prepare people for the transitions in their careers. Transitioning from your academic career to a professional one, first of all. But then transitioning from the entry level of your career to a management position. Manageria is not an event, it is a process, and it is a commitment. And so I am very proud to be a part of it. I'm very proud to call Stanislav Bolodovitz a friend, and I thank you for your contribution to the young leaders of Slovakia. And let's acknowledge him, if you wouldn't mind, Stanislav. Now, before I get started tonight, I would like to recognize a couple of people in the audience. I retired about 8 years ago in the United States. I was living in San Diego and thought I was pretty happy, and my wife said, no, we've got to get out of here. She wanted to live anywhere but the United States. She was raised in Europe, and so we moved to Europe, and quite by accident, she and I came to Central Europe and fell in love with Central Europe, the people, the culture, and everything, and we're very, very pleased. But one of the reasons that we stayed here was a young man that I met who was part of the Velvet Revolution. He was one of the student leaders. And we became friends and then later became involved in business together. And he is someone of whom I am very proud, not only because of his professional excellence, but because of who he is as a human being. And I want to acknowledge him tonight. Jan Bubenik. Jan, would you please stand up? Let's give him a hand. Jan is also a co-founder of the Prague Leadership Institute and was indeed a driving force behind it from the very beginning. One of the other individuals I'd like to acknowledge is someone who is a true example of what I consider the human element of leadership to be about. This is someone who, have you ever heard someone say that they are so good at it, they make it look easy? Well, that's who this person is as a leader. She is an inspiration to a generation of leaders that she has touched around the world. She's also, I'm proud to say, a faculty member of the Prague Leadership Institute. She's the managing director of Heineken Slovensko, Dor Plantegna. Please stand up, Dor. Thank you. And finally, the person who made all of this possible for me, the one who convinced me to leave my hammock in San Diego overlooking the Pacific to come to Central Europe, my wonderful wife and my muse, Priscilla. Sweetheart, please stand up. Thank you. All right. Let's talk about the unwritten resume. And what I would like to do tonight is this. I want to explain, first of all, what it is, why it's important to you, and I want to take you on a journey from where you are now to the future, to your future, and what is waiting for you out there. Now, I have been working with leaders, as Stanislav mentioned, for about 30 years around the world. And I've had the good fortune to talk to these people about how they selected the people that they picked for promotions, for hiring them, and also for firing them. And I've collected this data for many years. And basically, here's what I've found out. The difference between the written resume and the unwritten resume. The written resume today is viewed more like historical fiction. The dates may be right on your CV, maybe, and the accomplishments that you put on your CV might be right, most of them anyway, but the interpretation that you make of what you did, we don't always know about that. So today, everyone knows how to write a great resume. They have the opening sentence, they have the I'm so motivated I can do anything, and I mean all of it. We've all learned how to write resumes, and so they're not viewed with the power. They don't have the impact that they used to have many years ago because people know that we've studied about how to write these. So the written resume I call historical fiction today. The unwritten resume is reality. Now, what is it? The unwritten resume is made up of a number of things, 9 things, which we're going to discuss tonight. But in essence, it is the impression that you leave behind you after every interaction you have. Every interaction you have with anyone. I'm not talking about just in business. I'm talking about people that you meet in the classroom, people that you meet at a cafe. Everyone you encounter gets a copy of your unwritten resume. You don't have any choice about that. And so what I want to talk about tonight is how you construct it, what parts of it are important, and what the impact is. The first of the 9 elements is attitude. I have yet to speak to a leader in any part of the world that puts linear intelligence over attitude. Attitude is a driving force. Attitude is what turns problems into solutions. Attitude is what makes someone say, yes, I'll do that. I don't know exactly how to do it, but I will find out. I'll get an answer for that. Now, I think we all realize that a positive attitude, an optimistic attitude, is a good thing. And somebody, many years ago, started talking so much about optimism that now we kind of laugh at it. You say, oh yeah, that person's a real optimist. Well, let me tell you what, in my view, separates the optimist from the delusional optimist. A delusional optimist, nobody believes. This is a person who walks in and just learned that somebody's house was destroyed in a fire and says, don't worry, you get to build a new house now. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the market turning around and we can't sell our products. Something will come up. That's a delusional optimist. No one believes him because no matter what happens, they're going to say, don't worry, we can do it. We can get through it. But an optimist, as far as the unwritten resume goes, an optimist is somebody who recognizes the challenge, recognizes that it's going to be difficult, and accepts the challenge and says, you know what? I am going to find a way to get through this. That is optimism, and that is a part of your unwritten resume that's very powerful. I can believe someone who says that. I can want them on my team. Contextual intelligence is the next part. In the 20th century, and I'll talk a little more about this in a few moments, but we developed a cult of cognitive intelligence. That was the big thing. We even created, over the last 150 years, organizations that honored it. Phi Beta Kappa, the MacArthur Genius Grant, Mensa. If you have an IQ over 130, you can get into Mensa. We cherished cognitive intelligence. But what we didn't understand about it was that if it's not alloyed with common sense, if it's not alloyed with a good sense of timing and understanding, it becomes toxic. It becomes dangerous. Contextual intelligence is about, as Socrates told us, not knowing just what to do, it's knowing how to do it, when to do it, with whom to do it, and what degree to do it. That's contextual intelligence. And that is something that when you demonstrate the ability to do that in your unwritten resume is very powerful. Communication skills. I don't know how many years we've spent with communication skills. We have classes about communication skills. And what are they about? They're about public speaking, they're about how to write, they're about how to make a PowerPoint presentation, what colors to use, and what time of day. Don't be the one that speaks in the afternoon. People are sleepy. I mean, these are all the communication things. I mean, we're pretty good at that. But what we don't understand, one of the things, is listening is also a communication skill. Listening says a lot about what your perspective is. Listening tells somebody how thorough you are as a thinker and how rigorous you are. You see, I believe that there are basically two perspectives. The 20th century perspective for an executive was how the world impacts me. How you impact me, how you impact me, how the economy impacts me, outside in. The 21st century is about a very different world. It's about how I impact the world around me. There's a big difference. Jack Welch was the first CEO that figured this out and structured GE so that their products were what the people wanted. And so listening is the first part of that skill, to listen, to learn what is needed in a certain instance. Now, I'll tell you something else about listening that may give you a different perspective. There are 11 points, I believe, that I cover in that chapter in the book, The Unwritten Resume. But there's one point that I think is very salient today and one that's worth talking about. And that is the ancient Hebrew word Shibboleth. Has anyone heard that word before? Do you know what that word is? Anyone here heard Shibboleth? It's a wonderful word about communication. Let me explain what it is. In the ancient Middle East, when the 12 tribes of Israel were all moving around. There was one tribe that was living dangerously close to another tribe, and not being able to differentiate who that person was from the other tribe could mean life or death. They looked like us, they dressed like us, but there was one thing they couldn't do like us, like this one tribe. They could not pronounce the word Shibboleth. Their dialect did not have the SH sound. And so the leader of the one tribe told his sentries that when you see someone approaching, you yell out to them, say the word Shibboleth. And if they couldn't do it, they were killed. All right. Us, them. Shibboleth. Can you say it? No, we're going to kill you. You're not one of us. Well, the reason I use the word Shibboleth when I talk about communication is over the years, over the generations, over the hundreds of years since then, the way we have used that word is to find things about someone that we either relate to or we don't relate to. When we meet people, we unconsciously look for things that we can relate to. The way they dress, their shoes, a watch, the way they comb their hair, the car they drive, what kind of clothes are they wearing. All of these things are shibboleths, and they tell us something about that person. Now, in the context of the unwritten resume, in the context of communication skills, understanding shibboleths is critical, isn't it? You don't want to unconsciously send the wrong signal to someone. So I say that that is a very important part of communication skills for the 21st century. I love this topic. Passion. Passion is one of the most misunderstood words and concepts, I think, in the English language. Passion. It's a two-edged sword. People want to feel they have passion for what they do. People talk about, I don't have any passion for what I'm doing. I want to do something else. I've got to get another job. I don't think I like this that much. I don't have any passion for it. You ever heard anyone say that? You ever heard someone say, well, I don't have any passion for this. I think I'm going to try something else. I say it's a two-edged sword because of this. First of all, somebody who is passionate about something, I want to know what that means to them. How do you demonstrate your passion? How did you get passionate about something? Did passion fall out of the sky and hit you in the head and say, you know, this is great, I want to do it? Like most of us think? That's called infatuation. That's not passion. Passion is something we earn. We earn because we study something, we get deeper into it, we understand it, we talk about it, we might even write an article about it. Passion is something that grows inside us. Like in Czech, the word, I believe, is drozdi. I don't know if it's similar in Slovak or not, but yeast. It's like a yeast that grows in us. And when someone tells me they are passionate about something, I want to know how they got passionate about it. That says a lot about who we are and how we approach things. And that's why that word in your unwritten resume, when you're talking to somebody and you explain your passion, that's a very, very important thing. One thing to give you a different perspective on passion is this. If someone tells me they've lost their passion, I met with a CEO not long ago in Prague who runs a very big business and was telling me that lost his passion. Lost his passion, he's got to find something else to do, wanted to know if I could help him understand where it is he should be. Now, What I asked him was, what have you done to renew the passion you once had? Assuming you once had a passion for this job. He said, oh yeah, I did, when I first came to do it. Well, what have you done to renew that? Well, what do you mean? Well, how long have you been in the business? Well, 15 years at the very senior level. I said, you probably know the business pretty well. You know the challenges. You know a lot of the competitors. You know more about this business than a lot of you. Oh yeah, sure. When's the last time you came up with an innovation for your company or for your industry? Or a thought that took the company in a different direction? Oh, well, So we talked about that. We talked about his investment of time and energy. And over time, he began to look at his situation in a different way. And he began to look for what he stopped doing in the past. So I tell people when they say to me they've lost their passion for something, I want to know how it happened. I like to get answers. I like to go down deep into somebody's ideas and how they think. Now, self-confidence. We hear this all the time. And we all have a pretty clear idea of what self-confidence means. And to many of us, it means how we stand, how we enter a room, and have our head up, and how I look somebody right in the eye when I talk to them, and how I speak with authority. I may even have a deeper voice sometimes if I'm really trying to be self-confident. That's 20th century. The 21st century looks very different. And Dr. Carol Dweck at Stanford University interviewed Jack Welch for a book that she wrote called Mindset recently. And in that, she defines Jack Welch's view of self-confidence. It's counterintuitive to what we might think it is. Self-confidence to Jack Welch is having the courage to say, I don't know. I'll find out. That's a good question. We'll do that. Let's work on that together. We'll find out what this means. Having the courage to say, you did a great job. Thanks. Having the courage to be vulnerable. Having the courage to thank someone or to say, I'm sorry. That is what self-confidence looks like in the 21st century and what it looks like in the unwritten resume. Sidney Finkelstein, who is the Distinguished Professor of Leadership at Dartmouth at the Tuck School of Business, wrote a book recently called Why Smart People Fail. Why Smart People Fail. This was one of the reasons. A lack of humility. People that are not humble don't accept information from outside sources that easily. Some people call it the God complex. You see that sometimes in doctors, where they'll listen to you and, nod their head and say, yeah, but I know better than that. It's kind of the way it is. Humility allows us to accept data from a myriad of sources. Humility allows us to show other people we're human. I'm kind of nervous, and I know, I haven't interviewed somebody before, and, I feel kind of, well, I do too, kind of a thing. Don't worry about it. We'll get to know each other. These are the things that create a human link, this humility. And Jim Collins, in his book, How the Mighty Fall, writes about humility, and he writes about the fact that good leaders are humble, and the reason they're humble is they know that at any minute, any one of them can have a setback, they can have a failure, and they can be addressing something that doesn't look so courageous from the outside. They realize this, and they're ready for it. They're ever vigilant. That is what humility is about in the unwritten resume. Honesty. When I talk about honesty to business schools in different parts of the world, I get a nod like, well, yeah, honesty. What did you think? We weren't going to be honest. That's not what I mean by that word. Honesty has an interesting context in the unwritten resume. Because remember, the unwritten resume is the impression that we leave behind when we interact with someone. Honesty best surfaces in instances that you think are out of context. Let me give you an example. In context, in an interview, I would say, hey, are you honest? You say, well, of course I'm honest. Okay, well, that's in context. Okay, you're ready for that. But out of context, let me give you an example. Have you ever been given too much change from a cashier? Anybody here experienced that, where they gave you too much change? What did you do? Well, some people give it back. Some people don't. They keep it, and they tell their friends, what an idiot. She gave me €2 too much. Look at this. Let's go buy an ice cream cone. Well, here's the thing about it in the unwritten resume. People realize that honesty is not a one-off thing. Honesty is a character trait. Honesty means that if you got a lot of enjoyment out of doing that, I wonder what other kinds of things you get enjoyment out of that aren't right in the context of being ethical. Big signals from small actions. Honesty in the 21st century. We've learned a lot about dishonesty in the 20th century. I can draw a line to any crisis or meltdown that we experience, a circle around intellectual dishonesty. Honesty and common sense in the 21st century is one of my favorite topics, caring. And let me put it in the context of leadership and in the context of the unwritten resume and in the context of the 21st century. Caring is not liking. When I walk into a boardroom, and I get a lot of funny looks when I walk into a boardroom sometimes because somebody's read something I wrote, they read one of my newspaper columns, and they think I'm going to talk about something really soft and fuzzy, like let's all join hands and sing before we leave. Maybe we'll get down on our backs and make a shape like a starfish and look at the ceiling and interpret dreams with each other. That's not what I think about when I think about caring. I look at it this way. I don't care if you like someone, and I don't care if they like you. If as a result of what you learn from our working together, you like people, or they like you, wonderful. But it's a side effect. I care about you being the best you that you can be. I care about bottom line performance. Everything else comes after that. Caring. Very interesting what we know about caring. Caring is something that we demonstrate about ourselves as well as other people. Daniel Goleman, who is the father of emotional intelligence. How many people have heard his name in the audience? Daniel Goleman, emotional intelligence. Or how many of you know what emotional intelligence is? We've talked about that for decades. Daniel Goleman was giving a lecture once, and I was reviewing the footage of it for a presentation I was going to be giving in Munich. And I was looking for some ideas because I use a lot of his work in my work. And I didn't get anything new out of the presentation. It was just basically stuff I had read and things I'd heard before. And it wasn't until after the presentation was over, until they got to the Q&A, that I got the real gem out of the conversation. It was at a university, and he said at the end, does anybody have any questions? A young man stood up in the back of the room. They gave him the microphone, and he said, Dr. Goldman, can you help me understand my girlfriend? And everybody in the audience erupted in laughter, and Goldman said, well, I don't know if I can help you understand your girlfriend, but he said, maybe I can help you understand something about love. He said, okay. Audience laughs again. Goldman says there are 3 brain systems involved in this thing we call love. There's attraction, there's the physical, and there's caring. The attraction is, have you ever heard someone say about someone, you know, I just can't wait to be with him or her. When we're not together, I don't feel like I'm complete. I can't wait to see them again. And it's only Thursday and we've got a date on Saturday. That's the attraction thing. In a career, that's a title. I'm going to work for a big company and I've got a great title, okay? Now the second one, the physical, the sexual relationship, wow, it's dynamite. Fireworks going off everywhere. And in a career, let's take investment banking. That's making the deal. I get the deal, boom, I get that rush, pop, I feel great. Caring, the third brain system. This is the one that says, I care about you. I care about how you feel. I care about what you're doing. I care about you. In our career, caring means caring about how we develop. What are we doing to develop ourselves? How do we show caring for ourselves? Are we doing anything to advance our understanding of fill in the blank? The world, our profession, anything. How? If you were going to be arrested for caring for yourself, what evidence would they convict you on? Or would they find any? Caring, according to Dr. Goldman's studies, was the best predictor of a long-term relationship. It was the best predictor of long-lasting love. Caring is also the best predictor of a fulfilling career. And in the unwritten resume, when I'm talking to people, I want to know how they have expressed caring for themselves and how they have allowed other people to feel that they care for them. I don't need to like you, as I said in the beginning. If I'm your boss, I don't need to like you to care about you. You have a sick child, and I say, I know your child's in the hospital. Take the afternoon off and be with them. That's where you should be. I don't have to like you to do that. But why is this an important thing in leadership? Because in psychology, there is something called the mirror reflex. Has anyone heard of it? Any psychology students in here? The mirror reflex. You know what it is? You know how we found out about it? With babies. You know, we walk up to them and smile. And you know what happens, right? They smile back, just like you are. That's the mirror reflex. Well, if I care about you, and you think I care about you by what I do and what I show you and say, take that afternoon off, be with your child. Take the afternoon off because I know you've got a big game tonight, the tournament, and I know you got to get with your team. You go ahead and do that. Or, you know, I'm going to send you to the London Business School because I know you really want to know something about negotiating. We'll get you on the next course. What happens when you think I care about you? You care about me. You can't not care about me. Maybe not in the beginning, but you will. Now, what does that do? It raises your level of engagement with me, and it raises our level of engagement with each other. And your contribution, by the way, goes up. Now, for the accounting majors and finance people in the audience, I'll give you some scary data about caring. Recently, in a study that was done, a global study, they learned this. The term they used was uncivil behavior. Uncivil behavior. I come up to you, I'm your boss, I'm rude, I embarrass you in front of your colleagues, things like that. That's uncivil behavior. What did we learn from it? In the people that were studied in this, 50% of the people who said they were treated in an uncivil way consciously lowered their level of performance. 1/3 of those people deliberately lowered the quality of their contribution. Didn't send that email or copy you on that. I'm sorry, I meant to copy you on that. Oh yeah, that meeting, it's in 5 minutes. Didn't you get the memo? I thought I got that to you. I'm sorry. They begin subconsciously and consciously to sabotage the people who are uncivil towards them. So caring takes on a whole new dimension in the 21st century. And it has a hard bottom line on it. It is not a soft skill. I tell people I don't believe in soft skills. I think that that's a 20th century legacy. I call it soft power. As leaders and managers, soft power is what we care about. How do I get the best out of you, and how do I get the best out of myself? That's what the 21st century is about. Now, obvious question. This all sounds great, Pepper, and sounds like you've got a lot of studies and you've had a lot of fun writing a book, but big deal. Why should I care? Well, this is why. For more than 30 years, leaders around the world have told me that unwritten resume, these elements that we've been talking about, are what drive the decisions they make. They drive the decisions that are made about you. Chris Graves, who's the CEO of Ogilvy PR, global CEO, and I spent the afternoon together not long ago. And I asked him about some of the research he'd been doing. And he said, Pepper, we found out something very interesting about how people make decisions. They don't make them with logic. All the important decisions that we make in life, who to marry, where to live, where to work, who to vote for, we make through emotion. But we're pretty smart. What we do is, after we make the decision, we look for the facts to back it up. And we say things like, well, the reason I bought that Ferrari, whoa, great seats and I've got a terrible back. Or the reason my watch that I have costs more than the first house I bought is, it's an heirloom, I'm going to give it to my, yeah, right. We make the decisions emotionally and we look for the facts to back them up. Now, what does that relate to in the unwritten resume? The unwritten resume is about making an emotional connection with somebody in a favorable way. It's about connecting with somebody who can influence your life, career, whether it's a friend, whether it's a potential employer. That's what this is about. It is about connecting with people in the 21st century. And I have said for many years that to the people who understand the power, the subtle power of the unwritten resume, I don't care what the economic side, you are going to find yourself very busy. And on the same hand, for those who don't understand the power of the unwritten resume, their future is going to be made up of what is left over. Now, I said we're on a journey in the beginning. And if we're going to be on a journey, we have to know where we are right now, right? So in my thinking, from my own research and studies, I say that we are a society, and I mean global society, in transition. I think that we are moving out of the information age. Information is a commodity. Information doesn't mean much today as a differentiating characteristic. We don't understand what that word means, really. We understand what it means economically, but we don't understand what it means in a holistic way. What does globalization mean? What does it mean for cultures? What does globalization mean about my language, my dialect, my children? How are they going to be impacted by this in the future? We still don't understand what that means, and we're in transition. And many people around the world feel that globalization is code for Americanization or Westernization. Economic models. We still don't understand what economic model we want in the 21st century. We've got North Korea on one end of the spectrum. We've got the United States economic model on the other end of the spectrum. Is there something in the middle? We don't know, but people are looking for it. Governing models. I mean, we've seen a lot happen in China, for example. Is that bad? Is their system terrible? There's nothing to learn from it? We're thinking about that. More and more people are thinking about where are the transitions coming in governing. People are searching for the truth. We know through some incredible surveys that have been done. Burson Marsteller, who is a global public relations firm, did a European study on trust and confidence. They found that the trust in CEOs is at an all-time low. 3% of the population believe that a CEO cares about civil society and making a contribution through producing good products. 3%. Politicians and religious leaders, according to their survey, rank below financial executives. And that's after the meltdown of 2008. We're in a crisis of confidence and trust. The Gallup study may be the largest study ever done. It is certainly the largest one I have ever heard of. 2 million participants worldwide. What did they find out? 80% of the world's workforce is either passively or actively disengaged from what they do. Think about that. If this is true, the world economy is bumping along on 20% efficiency. If that's true, even if half of it's true, we are headed for something that is going to make the financial meltdown look like a day at the beach. This is serious. So we're in transition. Where are we going? I told you about the Burson Marsteller study. Now, how did we get here? We talked about a little bit about the 20th century model of leadership. Command and control. Me boss, you slave. Real simple, okay? You, do this. I don't care. I don't have time to talk to you. Just get it done, all right? I'm running a business here. I talked about cognitive intelligence, and I talked about how much time we've spent on developing it. I was in the center of the internet boom in Silicon Valley in California, and I can't tell you how many venture capitalists I've sat across the desk from when they were looking for a CEO to head up a new venture. And I'd say, well, what are you looking for? They'd say, I want somebody, and they'd lean over like this is a secret, okay? I want somebody smart. And the phrase they used was McKinsey smart. McKinsey's the global consulting organization that you, some of you no doubt know. McKinsey's smart. Bring them to me and we'll do the rest. Well, you see where that got us. It got us introduced to what I call toxic intelligence. Then there's the curse of the alphas. I would guess that at least 90% of the people sitting in this room are alphas. And I mean that in the zoological sense. Alpha male, alpha female. We're good at what we do. We're smart. All right? But we have a problem. I call myself a recovering alpha, by the way. We have a problem. And I'll tell you what it is. Psychologists call it the self-enhancement bias. That's a real fancy way of saying sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes we think we're just a little bit better than we really are. Sound familiar to anyone? Okay? So we don't take in information too easily. I know what's best. Thanks for your input, but now you can leave. And a responsibility. I've watched this over a number of decades where it's so easy to feel we're entitled to something. It's so easy to put the blame on society for something. It is so easy as an employee to say, you know what, I want to develop my career, but those idiots in human resources aren't doing anything for me. That's 20th century thinking. That is giving up on personal responsibility. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon.com, in his commencement address at Princeton University in 2009, said something I will never forget. We become the choices we make in life. Think about it. When you leave here tonight, every choice you make will bring you closer to or further away from what it is you want to accomplish in life. You can't bluff yourself about it. When you realize that you have the responsibility for your own development, that's powerful. Some people feel, I don't have power over who the president is. I don't have power over things that happen around me. But what I do have power over is my reaction to it. I have power over how I act with people and how I treat myself and how I care for myself. That's personal responsibility. Where do we want to be? We know by a number of studies that have been done, we want to be led by enlightened leaders who know how to bring out the best in us. We are more interested, according to a friend of mine, John Zogby, who is a internationally known pollster and market research guru. John just did a study, and he wrote a book called The Way Will Be. The Way Will Be is the name of the book. And what he found out was about the generation under 30 is this. Very interesting things. Like no other generation that preceded it. They are interested, I think I can say you are interested in, according to Dr. Zogby, not dogma, not ideology, just give me the facts, I'll make up my mind. That's where the people we talk to say they want to be. We want to live in an environment where we can trust people. We know what the opposite of that is like. The accountants, the lawyers, the politicians that we thought we could trust in the 20th century, that we couldn't trust, leaves a scar on us. We want to get beyond that. We want to feel fulfilled. I say, and I've written about this in my newspaper column, that we are transitioning out of the information age into the age of wisdom. It's more about how you do what you do when you do it, with whom, to what degree, than it is just what you do. Now, very briefly, how are we going to get there? Understanding physics. The physics of leadership, the physics of being part of a civil society. Cause and effect. If you do this, that's going to happen. It's real simple. You do this, that happens. Physics. And it's understanding your ability to influence your own physics. People say to me, Pepper, this all sounds great, but can I really change? I've been doing this for 25 years. Or I've been feeling this way for 15 years. Can I change? The answer is, not only can you change, if you have the motivation, it's inevitable. If you have the motivation to change, and we know this through studies that were conducted by Dr. Goldman. Personal responsibility to be examples. This, to me, is a wonderful gateway to the future. If we accept the responsibility to be examples of what we want in life, it spreads like a ripple in a pond. We can't wait for good leaders to appear on the horizon or a wonderful government to emerge from the dark. It begins with us. It begins with personal responsibility and something that I call individual acts of competence. That is what the unwritten resume is all about. It's all about how to demonstrate these individual acts of competence as we head along in our journey, in our lives, and in our careers. I'll leave you with my favorite quote from Peter Drucker. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And that's what the unwritten resume is about. It's about how you create the future you want. It's in your hands. Thank you very much. To people who want to subscribe to our mailing list at the Prague Leadership Institute, just send us an email and we will get you on our newsletter. It comes out monthly and it's written by people on our faculty who are CEOs and leaders from businesses around the world about topics on leadership. Thank you. You've been very kind and patient, and I appreciate you all coming here. Thank you very much.